Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today, the 8th of November 2015 AD and the 28th of Baba 1732 AM. I'm Philo Iskander. In today's headlines, exclusive story, His Holiness Pope Tawadros II returns to Egypt after his pastoral care visit to the USA. Historic monasteries in crisis and damaged by floods. Russian officials opens door to Assad's exit, says Syrian people should decide. Caged and in danger, Syrian soldiers become human shields for rebels. And a Real Madrid star is accused of blackmail in Mathieu Valbuena's indecent tape case. To the conclusion of our exclusive story, where on Thursday, October 29, His Holiness and the accompanied delegation arrived at the International Cairo Airport after his 3-week pastoral care visit to the USA. The Pope visited the Diocese of the Southern United States and Los Angeles, where His Holiness ordained 2 priests as hegumen, and San Francisco, where His Holiness consecrated 2 churches and altars. The Pope also visited about 33 churches where he met with the Coptic people and a number of local US officials. Upon his return to Egypt on Wednesday, the 4th of November, His Holiness resumed his weekly meetings. He gave his weekly sermon at St. George Heliopolis and received the delegation of the Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church heads of bishops from around the world accompanied Metropolitan Menir Hanna, the head of the Episcopal Church in Egypt. His Holiness Pope Tawadros received his Beatitude Catholicus Aram I, Catholic Estate of Cilicia and Talias, Lebanon, and Patriarch Ignatius Joseph Ioannin, Syriac Catholic Patriarch, who attended the weekly meeting of His Holiness. Heavy rains and sweeping floods in Wadi El Natrun area has caused unprecedented damage in 4 historic monasteries, St. Bishoy, El Syrian, El Baramos, and St. Macarius the Great. These historic monasteries date back to the 4th century AD and are considered destinations of antiquity. Floods unleashed torrents, causing some ancient domes at El Syrian Monastery to collapse, while filling the shrine of St. Moses the Black, holding his relics at El Baramos Monastery. In St. Bishoy's Monastery, flooding caused part of the wall surrounding the monastery to cave in. The floods have caused extensive architectural damage in all of these ancient monasteries. Numerous vehicles were also damaged. The value of the loss is estimated to be in the millions of dollars. Needless to say, the loss of the history and artifacts are priceless. Russian officials have been embattled with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's most emphatic international backers, but that doesn't mean they're insisting he remain in power. Russian Foreign Minister spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that the Syrian people should decide who their president is, whoever that may be, according to state-run Sputnik News. "We are not saying that Assad must go or stay," she said. The comments come more than 4 years into Syria's messy, bloody civil war, which according to UN Humanitarian Affairs Chief Stephen O'Brien has killed more than 250,000 people, displaced some 7.6 million within the country, and spurred over 4 million to escape to others. Significantly enough, they come days after the temporary halt of peace talks in Vienna that featured representatives from at least 18 interested parties. Senior American and Arab diplomats said the United States wants a roadmap for Assad to leave office. Under such a plan, he would hand over power to a transitional government before elections are held. However, those involved in the discussions have different ideas on how rapidly and even if Assad should leave power. It's one of many sticking points in an already complicated inferno, one that has only worsened despite repeated diplomatic attempts to help resolve it. Assad met last month in Moscow with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who many consider his chief sponsor. Both sides framed the talks as part of the coordination to fight terrorism, a label that Syria often applies to its enemies. Over to Iraq, where an abandoned chicken farm, a few dozen Yazidi volunteers in mismatched uniforms go through their drills. They are training for an offensive they have long dreamed of, to reclaim the town of Sinjar, which was their home until ISIS took it by force. The world watched in horror last year as some 50,000 Yazidis scrambled up Mount Sinjar in northern Iraq to escape the ISIS onslaught. Many more hundreds were massacred, while teenage girls and women were sold into slavery. Hundreds of Yazidi women in ISIS captivity have killed themselves. Some 5,000 Yazidi fighters have been mobilized under the command of Kurdish Peshmerga to take the battle to ISIS. Most are farmers and very few have military experience. The volunteers at the camp have horrific stories to tell of their escape. The month-long battle with ISIS has followed, and the relatives they have lost or are still missing. So do the many Yazidi families still camping on the mountain. Such a terrifying and despondent situation to be in, and we will have more updates on the situation in upcoming CYC news. The Human Rights Watch and a Syrian opposition group have reported that rebels are caging captured Syrian soldiers and other loyals to the regime and using them as human shields to fend off government attacks. Nothing can justify caging people and intentionally putting them in harm's way, even if the purpose is to stop indiscriminate government attacks, said Nadim Hourari, the Human Rights Watch Deputy Director of the Middle East and North Africa Division. The opposition Sham News Network concurred, reporting that videos posted to social media over the weekend show trucks transporting cages filled with up to 8 men or women. Text in one of the videos says, "Rebels have distributed 100 cages, with each cage containing approximately 7 people, and the plan is afoot to produce 1,000 cages to distribute to different parts of Douma city, particularly in public places and markets that have been attacked in the past by the regime and Russian Air Force." The move came in the days after government attacks on a marketplace in Douma last week killed dozens and wounded hundreds. The area, only 26 kilometers east of Damascus, has been heavily shelled the past 3 weeks. There was no immediate response from the regime and no word from the opposition on whether the tactic had accomplished its goals. In the UK, British Prime Minister Mr. David Cameron said on Thursday that it is more likely than not a bomb brought down Metrojet Flight 9268 over Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Cameron's comment came as Russian and Egyptian officials warned about jumping to conclusions, as he conceded that he couldn't confirm with certainty why the Russian commercial jet crashed. Still, it was enough reason to keep British citizens from flying back this week from Sharm el-Sheikh, a popular tourist destination in Egypt, until safety measures at the resort's airport could be bolstered. Cameron's office announced on Thursday that outbound flights from Sharm el-Sheikh to the United Kingdom will resume on Friday, but flights to the Red Sea resort remain on hold. US officials have told CNN that intelligence suggests ISIS or its affiliates planted a bomb on the Russian plane, which broke apart in midair, killing all 224 people on board. The flight was heading from Sharm el-Sheikh to St. Petersburg, Russia. A US official told CNN that the specificity and the chatter surrounding the crash of the Russian jet drew the attention of the US intelligence community. The official says that the specific nature of the discussion that officials monitored made them take notice. The intelligence also suggests that someone at the Sharm el-Sheikh airport helped get a bomb onto the plane, according to another US official. Still, the US government has not made its own determination as to what downed the plane. White House spokesman Josh Ernst said on Thursday that they can't rule anything out. A child who was reported missing in Alabama 13 years ago has been found safe and unharmed in Cleveland, Ohio, authorities say. Julian Hernandez was in the legal custody of his mother when he disappeared on August 28, 2002. He was 5 then. It was suspected that his father, Bobby Hernandez, took him as part of a non-custodial parental abduction, according to the Vestavia Hills Police Department just south of Birmingham. An American aircraft carrier was closely tracked by a Chinese submarine off the coast of Japan last month, a US defense official said, in the latest example of the test of wheels between the two countries in the waters of the Pacific. The official said that a submerged Chinese Kilo-class fast-attack submarine shattered the USS Ronald Reagan for at least half a day on October 24. He did not say how close the two vessels came to each other, but he noted it was more than a brief encounter. There was no indication of threatening behavior and no communications exchanged between the two crafts, he said. Nonetheless, American anti-submarine aircraft monitored the Chinese vessel. Chinese officials have not yet commented on the matter. And to our final story, one of the world's leading football players is accused of blackmailing a fellow France international footballer. French police are looking into whether Real Madrid striker Karim Benzema played a part in an alleged attempt to extort money from Lyon player Mathieu Valbuena. The allegations center around a purported indecent tape, a source close to the investigation told AFP. Benzema is under investigation for complicity in blackmailing and participating in criminal association with an intent to organize a crime, according to a statement from Versailles prosecutor's office. The statement used the French term mise en examen, a legal status that allows prosecutors to investigate someone accused of criminal activity for up to 2 years. Benzema's attorney, Sylvain Cormora, says the 27-year-old has taken no part in this blackmail attempt and that the case has gone public in a fallacious manner. His heart goes out to his friend Mathieu Valbuena, Cormora said in a statement broadcast on BMTV. Benzema appeared before a Versailles judge on Thursday morning after being held overnight. And that's all for CYC News. Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Philo Iskander from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Good night and God bless.